independently. The merging of different living entities into Brahman at the time of dissolution involve the dissolutions of different type of bodies. But the living entities, along with their different tastes, remain individually submerged in Brahman until another manifestation of the material world. As the salty taste of sea water and the sweet taste of Ganga water are different, and this difference continuously exists. So the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entity continuously exists. Even though at the time of dissolutions they appear to merge. The conclusion is, therefore, that even when the living entity becomes free from all contamination of material conditions and merge into the spiritual kingdom, their individual taste in relations with the Supreme Lord continues to exist. That's where we left yesterday. So we will continue. Very long prayer, very nice. The personified Vedas continued. Dear Lord, it is therefore our conclusion that all conditioned living entities are attracted by your material energy, and that it is only due to their mistakenly identify themselves as product of the material nature that they are transmigrating from one kind of body to the another in forgetfulness of their eternal relations with you. Because of ignorance, this living entity misidentify themselves in the different species of life. And especially when elevated to the human form of life, they identified with a particular class of man, or a particular nation, or race, or so-called religion, forgetting the real identity as eternal servant of your Lordship. And due to these faulty conceptions of life, they are undergoing repeated birth and death. And out of many millions of them, if one becomes intelligent enough by associating with a pure devotee, he comes to the understanding of Krishna consciousness and comes out of the jurisdictions of the material means conception. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed by the Lord Chaitanya that the living entities are wandering within this universe in different species of life. But that if one of them becomes intelligent enough by the mercy of the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna, then he begins his devotional life in Krishna consciousness. It is said, Harim Vina Namrutyum Taranti. Without the help of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot get out of the clutches of repeated birth and death. In other words, only the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, can relieve the conditioned souls from the cycle of repeated birth and death. No one else. The personified Vedas continue. Quote, the influence of time, past, present, and future, and the material miseries such as excessive heat, excessive cold, birth, death, old age, and disease are all simply the movement of your eyebrows. Everything is working under your directions, unquote. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita, that all material activity is going on under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. The Vedas continue, quote, all the conditions of material existence are opposing element for persons who are not surrendered unto you. But for those who are surrendered soul and are in full Krishna consciousness, these things cannot be a source of fear, unquote. When Lord Nrsingadev appeared, Prahlad Maharaj was never afraid of him, whereas his atheist father was immediately faced with death personified and was killed. Therefore, although Lord Nrsingadev appears as death for an atheist like Hiranyakashipu, is always kind and is the reservoir of all pleasure for the devotees like Prahlad. A pure devotee is not therefore afraid of birth, death, old age, and disease. Sripad Sridhar Swami has composed a nice verse in this regard, the meaning of which is as follows. Quote, my dear Lord, I am a living entity perpetually disturbed by the condition of the material existence. I have been cracked to pieces by the smashing will of material existence. And because of my various sinful activities while existing in this material world, I'm burning in the blazing fire of material reactions. Somehow or other, my dear Lord, I have come to take shelter under your lotus feet. Please accept me and give me protections, unquote. Srila Narottam Das Thakur also prays like this, quote, my dear Lord, O son of Nanda Maharaj, associated with the daughter of Brushbanu, I have come to take shelter under your lotus feet after suffering greatly in the material conditions of life. And I pray that you please be merciful upon me. Please do not keep me away far, for I have no other shelter than you. What a wonderful. The conclusion is that any process of self-realization or God-realization other than bhakti yoga or devotional service is extremely difficult. Taking shelter of devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness is therefore the only way to become free from the contamination of material conditions life, especially in this age of Kali. Those who are not in Krishna consciousness are simply wasting their time, and they have no tangible proof of spiritual life. It is said by Lord Ramchandra, quote, I always give confidence and security to anyone who surrenders to me and decide definitely that he is my eternal servant. For that is my natural inclination, unquote. Similarly, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, quote, the influence of the material nature is insurmountable, but anyone who surrenders unto me can verily overcome the influence of material nature, unquote. The devotees are not at all interested in arguing with the non-devotees to nullify their theories. Rather than wasting time, they always engage themselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. You know, we were reading at the 3:30 morning that one lady, when she read the Bhagavad Gita of dear Srila Prabhupada, she said that every word that has written in the Bhagavad Gita is correct. When can we get that realization? We have read, we have recited, we have many verses, but have we realized that every word spoken in the Bhagavad Gita is 100% truth? Then we should have firm faith in Krishna's word, and we can become very steady in our devotional service. So the personified Veda continued, quote, "Dear Lord, all the great mystic yogis may have full control over the elephant of the mind and the hurricane of the senses, unless they take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. They fall victim to the material influence and are never successful in their attempt at self-realization. Such unguided persons are compared to merchants going to sea on a ship without a captain." Unquote. By one's personal attempts, therefore, one cannot get free from the clutches of material nature. We must understand and realize this sentence. There is no way. One has to accept a bona fide spiritual master and work according to his directions. Then it is possible to cross over the nations of material conditions. Sripad Sridhar Swami has composed a nice verse in this connection, in which he says, quote, "O all merciful spiritual master, representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when my mind will be completely surrendered unto your lotus feet, at that time, only by your mercy, I shall be able to get relief from all obstacles to the spiritual life, and I will be situated in a blissful life." So if we are not blissful, we have to understand that we are not following the instructions of our spiritual master fully. Actually, aesthetic samadhi or absorptions in the Supreme Personality Godhead can be achieved by constant engagement in his service. And this constant engagement in devotional service can be performed only when one works under the direction of the spiritual master. The Vedas therefore instruct that in order to know the science of devotional service, one has to submit himself unto the bona fide spiritual master. The bona fide spiritual master is he who knows the science of devotional service in disciplic succession. And this disciplic succession is called Shrotriya, the prime symptom of one who has become a spiritual master. In disciplic succession is that he is 100% fixed in Bhakti Yoga, not 99%. Sometimes people neglect to accept a spiritual master, and instead they endeavor for self-realization by mystic yoga practice. But there are many instances of failure, even by great yogis like Vishwamitra. Arjuna said in the Bhagavad Gita that controlling the mind is as impractical as stopping the blowing of a hurricane. Sometimes the mind is compared to a maddened elephant. Without following the direction of a spiritual master, one cannot control the mind and the senses. Very well. In other words, if one practices yoga mysticism and does not accept a bona fide spiritual master, he will surely fail. He will simply waste his valuable time. The Vedic injunction is that no one can have full knowledge without being under the guidance of an Acharya. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who has accepted an Acharya knows what is what. The absolute truth cannot be understood by argument. One who has attained the perfect Brahminical stage naturally becomes renounced. He does not strive for material gain because by spiritual knowledge he has come to the conclusion that in this world there is no insufficiency. Everything is sufficiently provided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As I was saying in the meditation book 330 and 430, I seen when I went in the Himalayas, every living being has been provided everything to exist in this material world. No extra effort is required. But our problem is the food is given by Krishna to us. We don't need too much food, but we want to eat which pleases our senses. And that's our biggest problem. The other thing is clothing and maintenance provided by Krishna. But we want to have our own choice of clothing, and then we feel that we will become satisfied. And that's like a mirage in the desert, never come true. And similarly, he has given us the shelter, whatever it may be, accept it. But we don't accept it, and we want to create our own residence the way we wanted to live. So these three things, our Acharya says, is really impediment to make progress in spiritual life. Unless, and that's the reason, the nectar of instructions. First, vacho vegam manasaha krodha vegam. Everything has to do with controlling our senses. And if we fail to do, what is the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that Maya Devi will never leave you alone. And that's what it is, our life. Because we have not yet created the faith in the words of Krishna. That's the bottom line. So a real Brahmana therefore does not endeavor for material perfections. It says that if you don't have Krishna in your life, what is the use of any expertise that you have created in this material world? Even if you are intelligent of intelligent, what is the use if you don't surrender to Krishna? Even though you are a richest man of the world, what is the use if you don't surrender to Krishna? Your intelligence, your beauty, everything is not surrendered, it has zero value. But this is what we are seeking. You know, our daily life, if we see it, we want to become hero in all these directions. But we'll never be happy. So he approaches a bona fide spiritual master to accept order from him. You know, we should not take it lightly, the instruction of our spiritual master. This is the key to make advancement in spiritual life. A spiritual master qualification is that he is a Brahmanista, which means that he has given up all other activities and has dedicated his life to working only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And when a bona fide student approaches a bona fide spiritual master, he submissively prays to the spiritual master as follows, quote, "My dear Lord, kindly accept me as your student and train me in such a way that I will be able to give up all other process of self-realization and simply engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service," unquote. The devotee engaged by the direction of the spiritual master in the transcendental loving service of the Lord contemplate as follows. So how the pure devotee's mind works, these personified Vedas is revealing to us. Listen, quote, "My dear Lord, you are the reservoir of pleasure. Since you are present, what is the use of a transient pleasure derived from society, friendship and love. Person unaware of the supreme reservoir of pleasure falsely engage in deriving pleasure from sense gratification. But this is transient and illusory. Unquote. So in this connection, Vidyapati, a great Vaishnava devotee and poet, says, his prayer is, my dear Lord, undoubtedly there is some pleasure in the midst of society, friendship and love. Although it is materially conceived, but such pleasure cannot satisfy my heart, which is like a desert. In a desert, there is a need of an ocean of water. But if only a drop of water is poured on the desert, what is the value of such water? Similarly, this is wonderful prayer by Vidyapati. Our material hearts are full of multi-desires, which cannot be fulfilled by the materialistic society, friendship, and love, or by our endeavor to attain it. When our hearts begin to derive pleasure from the supreme reservoir of pleasure, then we can be completely satisfied. That transcendental satisfaction is possible only in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. What a wonderful Vidyapati's prayer is. And the personified Vedas continued. Quote, dear Lord, you are Satchitananda Vigraha, the ever blissful form of knowledge. And because the living entities are part and parcel of your personality, the natural state of existence is to be fully conscious of you. And that's the reason all other activities, we have to come to the platform somehow or other, begging the mercy of those person who has attained the stage that we should always remember Krishna and have complete faith in Him. Whatever circumstances happen in our life, we deserved it. We should gladly accept it, not to find, oh, this person did this to me. No. We should be completely satisfied whatever it comes on our life. And then you will see how our life gets changed. We will remain simply peaceful. Nothing should disturb us. You know, I have the very good example, the president of the Naparville temple, Premanand Mataji, and husband, due to the age, everything will come. We will be so forgetful that where we put our glasses, we won't remember the days are ahead of us like that. So we went to the Gufa of Vyasadeva in Badrinath. And Prabhuji put his bag. And somebody, I told Mataji that, why do you carry passport and OCI card and like that when you go to the pilgrimage? Just carry some money, little money. Why you carry all the money with you? You should live in a hotel. So Prabhuji forgot his bag. And news came that Prabhuji has left the bag somewhere. He don't know where it is. It has both their passport, OCI, and all the money what they have. And one thing about the Prem Ananda Mataji was so calm and cool. I can never figure it out that how he can be so calm and cool. I think it's because her husband has trained her like that he does everything like that because he cannot control his mind sometimes. Very nice devotee. We should learn from like this. But Mataji has very, very peaceful, and she said, I was thinking how Mataji days will go, without passport, without OCI, with no money. But because she has complete faith in the Krishna, nobody touched that bag. And after 45 minutes, the bag was still there where Prabhuji slept. So when the devotee went there, they said, Mate, 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 this is your bed. And she said, yes. But we don't have that much faith, this is the problem. And we have faith in everything else, This is really illusory energy is working on us. We read so many scriptures. Krishna personally says so many things, you surrender to me, I will give you full protection. But we take so many other shelters rather than Krishna. Very unfortunate situations. So the personified Vedas continued to pray, Dear Lord, you are Satchitananda Vigraha, the ever blissful form of knowledge. And because the living entities are part and parcel of your personality, their natural state of existence is to be fully conscious of you. But this is what we are missing, and that's the only reason we are suffering in this material. Otherwise, what is the suffering? Nothing should bother us in our life. Haribol. A Krishna conscious being becomes uninterested in family life, where there is some concession for sense enjoyment. In other words, he is no longer interested in sense gratification, particularly eating and sleeping. Both things need to be reduced drastically if you want to make advancement in soul. And it's not necessarily, believe me, cut down your intake 50 to 70% and tell me after 1 month how blissful your stomach feels and you feel so energetic. But we keep on dumping, I always give an example that in a car, they say this, you can only put the unleaded gas or leaded gas. In this engine or vehicle, you put only the diesel. We follow all this. But as soon as it comes to this machine, we dump everything. Whatever it comes on the way, we dump it. How is it possible to remain fresh and youthful when you eat so much? No need to eat 3 times a day. No need to sleep more than, I was listening to other, the Swamiji I met over there. There is 4.5 hours sleep is plenty. If you remember Krishna. So before you go to the sleep, remember Krishna and you will feel fresh after 4 years. And chant Hare Krishna 1 mantra before you go to sleep. So in some conscious, we'll keep on chanting the holy name. And as long as you associate with the holy name in Krishna, what is the difficulty? No difficulty whatsoever. So the perfection of human life is based on the knowledge and renunciation. What is called knowledge? We read the scripture, we practice. But if we don't put in a practice, what is the use of that knowledge? Knowingly, as Narottam Das Thakur says, we are drinking every single day the poison. And dear brother and sister, stay hungry and you see how much strength you will feel. Hunger is required. But it is very difficult to attempt to reach the stage of knowledge and renunciation while in family life, because we eat so much, we sleep so much, and we constantly striving to improve our situation, which is not necessary. Krishna will do everything for us, but we have no faith in his words. Keep on working hard. Haribol. Krishna conscious person therefore takes shelter of the association of the devotees or sanctified place of pilgrimage, and such person are aware of the relationship between the super soul and the individual living entities. And they are never in bodily concept of life, because they always carry you in full consciousness with their hearts. They are so purified that any place they go becomes a holy place of pilgrimage. And the water which washes their feet is able to deliver many sinful persons loitering within this material world. Unquote. So we have still 8 more minutes. When Prahlad Maharaj was asked by his atheistic father to describe something very good which he had learned in the school, so what did he reply to his father? For a materialistic person who is always full of anxieties due to being engaged in temporary and relative truths, the best course is to give up the blind well of family life and go to the forest to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Unquote. Those who are actually pure devotees are celebrated as Mahatmas or great sages, personalities perfect in knowledge. They always think of the Supreme Lord, somehow or other. That's what the goal of their life is. And practice makes one perfect. Start with something that I want to chant for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. Rest of the time, this is the process I'm going to do so I can remember the Radha and Krishna constantly, despite I may be engaged in different activity. Find your ways that you can remember the divine couple, and then you will see you can live your life in a liberated stage, even though we are living in this material world. They always think of Supreme Lord and His lotus feet, and thus they automatically become liberated. Devotees who are always situated in that position becomes electrified by the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. You know, we have not yet measured, as I say, we have not utilized even 7 to 9% of the ability that Krishna has given us, because we are misusing it. As long as we start to utilize everything in the right directions, impossible become possible. And thus they themselves become source of liberation for their followers and devotees. A Krishna conscious person is fully electrified spiritually, and therefore anyone who touch even or take shelter of such a pure devotee become similarly electrified with spiritual potency. Such devotees are never popped up with material opulences. Generally, the material opulence are good parentage, education, beauty, and riches. But although a devotee of the Lord may possess all 4 of these material opulences, he never carry away by the pride of possessing such distinctions. Great devotees of the Lord travel all over the world, from one place of pilgrimage to another, and on their way they meet many conditioned souls and deliver them by their association and distribution of transcendental knowledge. They generally reside in places like Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, Jagannath Puri, and Navadvip, because only devotees assemble in such places. In this way, they give saintly association to one another and thus advance, so that every living entity can take advantage of the association of the Krishna conscious persons. Such great devotees open temples and ashram where Krishna's devotees assemble. By such association, people can develop more and more in Krishna consciousness, and such advancement is not possible in ordinary household life, which is devoid of Krishna consciousness. So we will stop here. We have 4 more minutes. If you have any other comments, correction, or chastisement, I'm open for that, because we need to learn that we are very, very insignificant. Something, even some good things that Krishna gives in our life, never take it for granted that because of us. That's a foolish mentality. And as soon as we will hear like this, or even thought came into our mind, our devotional life will be slackened. So Please share your thoughts. You are all wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. And our goal is to stay together to perfect our life, where ultimate eternal happiness, we can swim in the ocean of happiness. And that should be the goal, not to look after, to make and improve our material situations, because those situation is temporary anyway. Everything we have to leave one day behind us. That is for sure. So it's better to become detached and become satisfied what we have. I don't think that so many devotees should continue working. They have plenty of wealth. They should return and chant Hare Krishna. What is the worry? How much you need, two chapatis and little sabji? Why we want to keep on working for this corporate world who is sucking the blood actually? But anyway, anybody has any thought on this or any discussion or chastisement? Because sometimes I say something which is not pleasing, but I felt that it has helped me, reminding me that how we have to remain dedicated to the holy name and Krishna and Radharani. Remember constantly, that's the goal of life, not to increase our wealth or to try to become famous in anything or try to be superior than anyone. This is not the reason we have descended in this material world. Haribol. I'm gonna visit my brother's very old friend. Somehow or other he came to know that I'm in India, and he never know where I was living actually. So he is very, very interested. So I thought that I should go in the evening and spend some time with him. And it's a reminder of our childhood. I told him that Suresh Bhai, his name, I said, Suresh Bhai, do you remember that in my village there is a Thana that, I forgot those people who was governing the small town and everything. And we have a big loudspeaker where they used to put the cricket commentary. So all these people will come together, and there was a open area where everybody used to sit. Even in my primary school, my teacher used to send me to this place, go and listen what is the score today. So I said, and we used to play the cricket together. And so he said, this is my happiest day of my life, talking to you. That's what he says. And he said, I humbly request, he's elder than me because he is the best friend of my elder brother who is no longer here. So I felt that I should go and visit him, and then we find out in so many ways that we were related in some ways. My brother-in-law is some kind of relations with him, and my brother's son's wife is also related to him or something like that. So today I am trying to go and visit him, spend some time with him and see. I always say that spread the word of Krishna. Wherever I go, I just tell them that do whatever you can, but remember Krishna somehow or other and make your life successful. So that's the only reason I'm gonna go and visit him, but there will be very, very old memories will come alive. So I think you all didn't speak anything, so I keep on talking. So I think it's 5:31. I have to go, so I can also take rest early. Thank you very much for your kind association, and let's remain steadfast. I can see, I have seen the people who is living this world. The greatest thing will give us the happiness is Krishna consciousness. Nothing else. I'm telling you. If we remain steadfast in devotion, our spending this world, living this world will be very, very auspicious moment. Not that we will become miserable or do we suffer I think that if we fulfill the desire of Krishna, assist him in his mission, dedicate our life, Krishna will give us everything. We will live so happily up to the end and go back. This is the goal. And Krishna has promised us, Ye yatha mam prapadante, as you surrender, I definitely will take care of you. So rather than working and putting our energy somewhere else, just simply retire from work if you can as early as possible. Because do we know how long we are going to survive? Do we know that we have 1 year in our life? We don't know. So thank you very much. Vanchukalpatarubhasya kripa sindhuvaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you very much, all of you. Hare Krishna.